What is up, my viewers? Spang here, bringing you yet another World of Tanks gameplay commentary. This is a viewer-submitted replay from Mr. Never Aim, a guy who I have not done a commentary on in quite a while, if I'm not mistaken. It's been too long, good friend. And he is playing in his T34, the Tier 8 Premium Tank, in a match where there's only 2 Tier 8s per team, so Tier 8's definitely going to be a force that will turn the tide of the battle if you play them properly. And that is one thing to always keep in mind. If you are top tier, and there are very few of your tier on your team, you should probably play a little more cautiously than normal so you can maximize your effectiveness. Recognize your strength against the enemy team, but don't let it go to your head, and don't charge out in the open thinking you're the unstoppable juggernaut, because you're not. That will quickly get you killed. Just because you're the biggest thing on the map doesn't mean the enemy team can't gang up on you and shoot you from 5 different directions. It happens too often. But anyway, that's enough for my ranting here. The T34 is quite the formidable tank. It pretty much has the best gun of all the Tier 8 premium tanks. So it's not in rate of fire, but in terms of penetration and I believe in damage as well. So it's definitely the cannon of the Tier 8 heavies. Well, the Tier 8 premiums, not the Tier 8s in general. I do believe there might be a Tier 8 tank that has a higher penetration, higher damage gun. Although I could be mistaken. It's been too long since I've actually checked the stats of all the Tier 8 guns, and now with the Chinese out there, I just don't know anymore. So maybe I should become a little more familiar with the Tier 8 line than I have been, but I do like the T34. It functions pretty well. The enemy team doing a bit of a foolish push here up on the 1-2 area, really advancing and just, like I said earlier, they're kind of falling prey to that same flaw. Now, they aren't the biggest things on their team, but they're just falling prey to that mistake of, I'm going to charge out there and hope for the best. And then next thing they know, they're getting shot from 1, 2, 3 different directions, and they're essentially surrounded by the enemy team. So that is a mistake that you will constantly see. It might be the most common mistake in this game that people do, is they get too aggressive, too whatever you might call it. Maybe they've had a few bad games and they're kind of just sick of it. Maybe the last game they were in was a draw, and because both teams camped and they're just sick of sitting still. And I'm not saying you want to camp all the time, but when you push forward, when you are aggressing on the field, pushing forward and moving up, you want to do so tactfully and logically. You want to go from cover to cover and not get yourself in positions. Wow, bouncing a shot on his frontal hull armor there, just due to the extreme angle. Well played, Mr. Never Aim. But a T29, which certainly has enough penetration to get through him. And here we go. The T26E4, the Super Pershing, coming up on him to try and ruin his day just a little bit, even with his great penetration. Still bouncing a shell off that thing. The T26, the Super Pershing, definitely perhaps the most well-armored of all the Tier 8 mediums. Although the Type 59 does give it a run for its money just due to its slopes. The T26's strength is its spaced armor. It is a pain to get through. I've essentially hit it for no damage with my Tier 10 tank destroyer, and it's really frustrating from time to time. Now, the T26 getting hit for damage right there in his turret, and he is quite in a bad spot because he can be shot from the hill in his current location. So again, aggressing and not really being aware of his surroundings right there. Like I just pointed out, he can be shot from that hill, so he's not really in the best of positions, not really thinking and pushing too far up before he realized where the enemy was. Now, Never Aim here, sitting behind this rock simply because there are enemies all around him. He is not pushing up because he is aware of his surroundings, and his surroundings are not looking too good. I do believe nope, he was not shot by his own teammate. There is an enemy up on that hill capable of shooting down on him, so that is rather unfortunate. Hopefully his team will be able to help him out, but this KV-1S, fortunately it did not have the large 122 cannon, and it did not fire, period. But if it did, it could have done 390 damage. That is its average to him, quite significantly lowering his health. Still, Never Aim doing quite well to bounce so many shells and really just take this beating like a champion. And like I said, he is a Tier 8 and what is strongly a Tier 7 and Tier 6 match. So doing very well to abuse his tier advantage. Bouncing significantly more shells off the back of his turret. The T34 is quite well armored in the back of its turret, more so than the T29 and the T30. I don't believe better than the T32. The T32's turret is pretty impressive, to say the least. Now, he looks like he will get a kill on this Type 58 if he just fires. Yep, there we go. Kill number 2 for Never Aim. His team's still only up by 1 tank, and now up by no tank, so the playing field getting even quite quickly, but both teams still have both of their tier 8s. Although that T26 is hurting, barely alive, and holding on to dear life behind this rock. Although it looks as if Never Aim's team might take another shot down on him. And Never Aim is wary of those enemy tanks up on the hill. Although, if he was paying attention to his minimap, he might want to be paying a little more attention to the tanks moving up on him. The KV4, perhaps what is one of the better armored of the tier 8 tanks, certainly. It's certainly a tough tier 8 to get through. I've bounced shells off of it, and it does quite well. In fact, in one of my previous videos, someone contested when I said the KV5 is the mouse of the tier 8. They said, no, it's the KV4. And both of them are quite bouncy, but I have to stand by my assertion that at least I value the KV5 as the mouse, or mouse, however you want to say it, of the tier 8. Now, Never Aim's team has pulled ahead by 2 kills, and he is currently at 3 kills, perhaps about to get a 4th kill on the Tiger, not even zooming in, truly living up to his name of Never Aim, and just taking the shot from the 3rd person. And now, granted, he didn't have to zoom in on that, but any sort of long distance shot, I mean, hell, even if any shot I will zoom in. And typically the only time I won't zoom in is when I am firing on the move, simply because you have too much tank bump. Your tank bumps too much up and down. There's too many uneven spots in the terrain, and not only that, compensating for that motion while in the first person view is really difficult. So I will typically only not zoom in when I am on the move and firing. So running and gunning, essentially. But if I am any sort of stationary, I will zoom in, especially in close quarter combat. Right here, this is a perfect example. That IS just shooting directly into his dead teammate's tank there. I don't believe he zoomed in at all, because if he had, he would completely have realized that he did not have that shot in any capacity. This IS possibly going to get himself killed here. That IS is fully upgraded, although this enemy IS seems to be lacking the best gun. So, unfortunate for him, it is certainly not a fair fight. Never Aim's team up by 4 kills at this point, and Never Aim up by, well, almost got himself top gun here. Hopefully he can get it on this KV1S. That was not the enemy KV1S shooting, and Never Aim's frag. Yep, he took a shot, though the KV1S firing directly into his turret. So not really the best place to aim there, enemy IS. Clearly not aiming for the T34's weakness, which is everywhere on its hull. You don't shoot the turret. It's just not what you do. If you can help it, you shoot for anywhere but the turret. Now, that looked like it may have hit him in the side and just barely glanced off, although I don't see any sort of bullet mark there. That is an odd thing to behold. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened there. Now, Never Aim still, that was a tier 5 artillery shot. The M41 kind of doing a little bit too... Never Aim saying GTFO arty. I have to agree. Every now and again, artillery just ruins your day. And I've been responsible for ruining people's days. I mean, I own 2 tier 6 artilleries and a tier 8 artillery. I have certainly been known to rain the pain on people. It is a part of the game, and some people absolutely despise it and want the devs to remove it altogether, but you just gotta play with what you got. Now, Never Aim is at 6 kills and potentially going to eliminate this KV4. He's been doing very good of moving from rock to rock. I know a lot of people would say they would want to see him be a bit more mobile, but he really wasn't in a position to. This is a perfect example of, you know, being aware of your surroundings and pushing up when you have the opportunity, using the terrain to your advantage, taking cover when it is available to you, and not pushing up beyond your team's capacity to support you to the extent where you get surrounded and overwhelmed. And that seems to really be the theme of this game, is just cover to cover. Just simply playing tactfully. And some people call it camping, but it's really just playing smart. And don't get me wrong, there are times where it calls for a full-on blitzkrieg. You charge that enemy line and you say, to hell with it, Leroy Jenkins. And it is beneficial. I've been known to do that from time to time when I knew it would benefit my team. And my sacrifice rarely is in vain when I do it, but it usually ends in me dying nonetheless. Now, this enemy team certainly not winning by any sort of margin. They're losing now by 7 tanks, and it looks as if it's going to be a 15-7 match, unless this artillery can manage to eliminate one of the enemy team. Nope. So it will be a 15-7 victory. Never am saying GG. I don't necessarily agree with that. If the victory margin is by more than 5 tanks, I don't consider it a good game. I consider it a bit of a one-sided match, and I actually consider it rude to say good game if it was a one-sided match. But very good on Mr. Never Aim, getting 7 kills for his team. He did get Mastery Badge Ace Tanker for his T34 in this, so very well played. Just moving from cover to cover and popping out and taking that, basically going pop and shot, and having the common sense to just push up when he had the opportunity and stay behind cover when he didn't. So well played. Anyway, if you like this video, click that like button. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you got a replay, just check the description for instructions on how to submit that. This has been Bang, and I am signing off.